May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Clouds, mountains, and God. They go together like coffee and cream, peanut butter and jelly, bread and wine. In other words, where you find one, you will often find the other. In today's readings, we have what are known as theophanies, visible encounters with God. In our Old Testament reading, Moses goes back up the mountain for a second time to speak with God and get another set of tablets, as the first set was smashed in fury over the Israelites worshiping a golden calf that they had made in Moses' absence. Moses disappears into a cloud as he ascends the mountain. Moses comes off the mountain from his time with God, a changed man. His encounter with the divine literally radiated from him. His face shone because he was speaking with God. He looked like the old Moses, but his countenance had changed so much that Aaron and the Israelites were afraid to approach him. In the gospel reading, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up to the mountain to pray. While Jesus was praying, his countenance changed as well. It was still Jesus, but his face and clothing became dazzling white. Jesus' time in prayer changed him, and the divine radiated from him. Jesus appears with Moses and Elijah, the symbols of the law and the prophets. And we are told that the three of them were talking about his departure, which he was about to be accomplished in Jerusalem. Peter, God bless him, gets all excited. He is thrilled to be there to witness the bringing together of the old and new covenants. But that excitement is about to turn into terror as a cloud appeared and the three disciples entered it. While in the cloud, they heard a voice proclaiming, "This is my son, my chosen. Listen to him." Clouds, mountains, and God. They go together, and they can be absolutely terrifying. Entering into a cloud of unknowing, a fog where one may encounter the divine, will leave you changed from the person you were before. I know a little something about clouds, mountains, and God. I know how beautiful they can be and how scary they can be. And I know it from my time on that mountaintop in Tennessee called Swanee. I wasn't the only person to go up that mountain and return a changed person. And I want to tell you a story about someone else who entered into a divine fog, into a cloud of unknowing, and came down from that mountain transformed. It was the fog that caused us to be lost, the wife of a friend from seminary told me. Her name was Donna, and she was speaking of the incredibly dense, can't see your hand in front of your face fog that descends on Swanee. And let me tell you, the famous London fog has absolutely nothing on Swanee fog. At 2,500 feet elevation, Swanee gets enveloped in clouds, and it can happen very, very suddenly. One moment you're standing in sunshine, and the next moment the clouds are so thick that when you stand in it, the only thing you can see is the swirling mist around you. You could be standing next to a huge building, close enough to extend your arm and touch it, and still not see it. You know it's there, but it's gone from view. One time, when I was in seminary in Swanee, I knew exactly where I was. I was standing next to All Saints Chapel, which is a tremendously large Gothic-style church. It is the church for the campus at the University of the South. And I couldn't have been more than 5 feet from it when the fog suddenly came in and the building disappeared entirely. It truly was that thick. When the fog descends on Swanee, walking is perilous, and driving in it could cost you your life. Are you walking towards a precipice? Will your next step take you into a hole and break your leg? Or will it swallow you whole? If you're driving, you very often don't know if you are so close to the edge of the road that your car may go off the side and roll down that mountain, and that happens a lot. Or, if you're driving, you may be so close to the center line that you and another car meet head-on. Donna's husband, Tom, was called to be a priest, and he and Donna were making the rounds of different seminaries to determine which one Tom would enter to start his theological training. Donna told me, I was questioning decisions that had to be made about seminaries and where my place was in those decisions. I was unsure of a lot. My husband felt so very sure, and it was very lonely for me. We had one final seminary to visit, and then a decision had to be made. Secretly, I was hoping we could start again later, when we were older. That is when it happened, she said. We ran right into a wall of fog. We knew we were near the seminary, but we could not see anything. The lines on the road were our only guide, and the only way we were even sure that we were on a road at all. Finally, we found something that appeared to be a parking lot. Not sure where we were or where we were going, we thought it better to park and walk. There was a sidewalk just off the parking lot. It seemed like a good place to start. We took the path up the hill, barely able to see a foot in front of us. Have you ever been in a fog so deep, so all-encompassing, that there's literally nothing else that you can see? Perhaps it's the fog of grief or loss, the pain that swirls around you when you lose that job or get a bad diagnosis or your marriage dissolves. Perhaps it is the fog of having to make a life-altering decision and not knowing which way to go. At times like these, we will often take short, halting steps, gingerly feeling with our foot the next step forward, wondering if we are on solid ground or about to step into an abyss. I have to admit that following God sometimes feels like that. I step into a cloud of uncertainty, of wondering where that next step will take me, and like Peter, James, and John, I am terrified. But for Moses, Peter, James, and John, the story doesn't end in the clouds or fog, and it doesn't end with them being terrified. My story doesn't end there, and Trinity's story doesn't end there, and Donna's story doesn't end there either. Donna said, as we came up the hill, it seemed as if the fog vanished, the sun burning a hole in its thickness. We were standing in a shaft of fog-piercing sunlight. It was then that I saw it, a bench, just a small stone bench. Engraved on the top of the bench were 4 words, Donna, all is well. Donna told me that seeing those words literally took her breath away. She said, my husband came up behind me. What is it, Tom asked. Did you find a sign telling us where to go? Yes, Donna said. I think I did. Just as the sun came through the top of the hill, it was as if the sun broke through my mind. Everything just seemed so clear. It was the fog that caused us to get lost. Without it, we would never have been on that part of campus to see the bench. What Donna discovered, she told me, was that the fog didn't obscure the path, it opened it up. By stepping into the unknown, by being willing to get a little lost, Donna found that God was present in her uncertainty. God was to learn that without stepping into the fog, she never would have discovered that all was well. Donna, all is well. We have another sun that breaks through our darkness and pain, that shines through the fog of uncertainty and our cloud of unknowing. And that is the Son of God, Jesus Christ, who says to us, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." In other words, all is well. "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls." In other words, all is well. "This is my Son, my chosen. Listen to him." All is well. Jesus is the light in our darkness, the sun that pierces our fog and illuminates our path. The fog is still there, at times so dense we don't know where we are or what we're supposed to do. But nothing can obscure our path when we listen to Jesus. Nothing. Could it be that because of our pain and sorrow, our path to Jesus, our path to hope and healing and new life actually opens up? Certainly that's as much a possibility as that our fear will swallow us whole. In fact, it's far more of a possibility because Jesus assures us that in our times of doubts, uncertainties, and fears, that indeed all will be well. Trinity, you are at a time in your life and history that may feel very uncertain and foggy. You may know the pain of loss as you say goodbye to Tamsin and plan a new future that you cannot yet see. There may be halting, uncertain steps as you start planning for moving forward. Anxiety and trepidation may accompany you for quite some time, and that's okay. So here's your challenge. It is the same challenge that faced Moses. It is the same challenge that faced Peter, James, and John. It is the same challenge that every church faces every day, not just in a time of transition and change. And so here it is. Will you go forward making decisions because of anxiety and fear? Or will you go forward making decisions perhaps uncertainly, but with the knowledge that no matter what, all is well? Trinity, all is well. And you don't have my word on it. You have God's. Amen.